that when my father got sick in 1997, my father started to shut down. And if you've ever said goodbye to a parent, how many of you have both of your parents still? Raise your hand, both of your parents? Fantastic. How many have one of your parents left? Yeah? And how many have said goodbye to both parents? Yes. So I've also said goodbye to both parents, and I'm going to tell you a quick story about my father, because my father got really sick, and he was in the hospital for some time, and the doctors couldn't find the problem. You hear about that sometimes. They thought they might know what it was, and then they did some testing, and no, it's not that, it's this, or it's this, but it might be this. We're just not really sure. And since they're not sure, they can't treat appropriately. And we were at wit's end, my brothers and I have 3 brothers. My mom had already passed. And I said to the doctor one time, I said, doctor, is there anything you can tell us to help us feel better about what's happening? Anything. Because we're at wit's end. This has been torturous for all of us. And we just don't know what to make of all this. We don't know. It's so hard to sleep at night. It's even harder to get up in the morning and just face this. What can you tell me that would be helpful? And he said to me something very interesting. He said, sometimes the patient knows what's going to happen before we do. The doctor said this. He said, why don't you ask your father what's going to happen? Maybe that conversation would be edifying for you, sir. And I said, that's a fantastic idea. I'll do it. And the very next night, I'm in the room alone with my father at the hospital. And the only noise in the room is the humming of the equipment by his bedside. The beep, beep. The mechanics of the machines. The only light in the room was the TV flickering like a fireplace almost. You know how a TV kind of simulates a fireplace effect. And I wanted to choose the moment carefully when I asked my father this question, because I wasn't at all sure about his answer. And we kind of settled into the evening a little bit, and finally my dad, who was all wired up, he had tubes in both arms. He had I'm not sure the name now, a tracheotomy. Where's the tracheotomy tube? What's it called? Yes. So he couldn't talk. And all he could do was nod his head or blink his eyes, and he had a pad that he was write the answers on if he felt like writing. But it was hard for him to write because he was in bed. My dad had the most beautiful handwriting of anybody you ever met. But he's writing upside down without his glasses, and I said to my dad, I said, Dad, what do you think's going to happen? And he made a motion like he wanted to write. And I brought him a pad and a pen. And what he wrote is in front of you in the notes. He wrote, I think I'm improving. I know. Wow is right. And that's all I needed to know. If my dad thought he was improving, then I'm good, man. We're going to run with that theory, right? Who cares what the doctors say? My dad thinks he's improving. And my dad passed away during the night. And the reason I tell you this story, ladies and gentlemen, is not because it makes me feel good. It actually makes me feel sad because I've lost my father. But I tell you that story because my dad was dying and he thought he was improving. You can always feel good about something that's happening. Always. It's always a choice. You can feel good about a bad club. You can feel good about an unaccomplished goal. But if you keep coming back to that good feeling, the good attitude, the good motivation, the good stuff, everything turns better. Isn't that true?